And today we have with us Mark, who's from Pioneers in Asia. Welcome to our show, Mark. This is lovely to see you and get a chance to chat with you. Why don't we hear from you to start with what Pioneers is all about, how you came about, and what is it that you do for the community in Singapore?
Thanks, Nirav. It's great to be partnering with you in this. We are the Asian arm of a global organization that brings the gospel, the love of Jesus to the world. That's our primary motive. And we do this by helping to equip and send people. They go to different places in the world within their own country, but also serving outside their country. And they do many different projects around the world, such as community development projects, aid work amongst refugees. They even start schools, run orphanages. Many run agriculture projects, and of course, they work with local churches to build community type projects. And so we're really made up of members who just want to use their gifts to build projects and ministries that really serve other communities. And so one of our core values is, being innovative and serving with whatever's in your hand and in whatever way you can in different contexts.
Lovely. So, you did say that this is part of a global organization and you do work across communities, across different sectors in the community. Relevant to Singapore, what are some things that you have done and what are some of the highlights of your achievements recently?
Well, in Singapore, our primary role is to equip people, organizations, the local church to do the work. In some cases, we don't have the projects ourselves in places like Singapore, in the sense that we see places like Singapore are wonderful serving countries and sending, rather than saying, and of course there are needs here, but we want to equip people to actually serve. And so many of our programs are training programs to help people become equipped for such work. Many of the contexts in which our members serve in are cross-cultural. And so many of our training programs equip people to be sensitive to work across cultures, to know the cultural intelligence, the contextual type understanding, so that we don't just bring our own solutions that we think are good, but we actually equip people to go and ask the communities, what do you need? Let us work in partnership with you to do that. And so, in ages past and in years past, people used to say many people who go and serve overseas are very ethnocentric. That means we measure everything with our culture and with our understanding. And I think especially with the understanding around the world, we're just needing to grow in our cultural sensitivity, and a lot of our training equips people for being in these multicultural contexts.
Understand. Now, you would need a team of people, you would have volunteers as part of the organization. And so to keep these people going in terms of, what they give to the community, what sort of drives them and where do they get their job satisfaction from to do this?
Yeah, that's a really great question. I think what drives most of our members and teammates is what the Bible calls the gospel. That means literally the good news. And that is they feel that their lives have been transformed by a relationship with Jesus. And so a lot of the teaching from the Bible says, go and give, go and make other disciples, go and teach the things that you've learned. And so a lot of that is worked out in a very practical aspects of their life. It's not just a theological thing that resides in their head. They say, I've been given gifts, I've been given blessings that I want to, share. And so I think for many people, they've worked in the professions for many years. For myself, I was an engineer in the automotive industry for 15 years in Australia. But eventually I said, look, I want to do something different in my life. And so I went to serve in India for 10 years and then came to Singapore to lead the work here. And so that's an example of many people. They say, I want to, whether it's for a short time or a long time, I'd like to really spend some time using my gifts to serve other communities. And I think that's a wonderful group of people that we love working with.
Yeah, that's what I admire and respect with many of the charities in Singapore, and how their members, their employees, volunteers spend so much time and effort on their part. They really give up and give so much back to the community, which is wonderful. And I'm sure it's highly appreciated. When it comes to a charity, donation is your revenue, in a way of speaking. And so you obviously have to show that the donations that are coming in are being put to good use, and people are seeing that their dollar goes somewhere towards a good cause. How do you communicate that to your donor community?
Yeah. Well, I must admit, we don't spend a lot of time fundraising. We used to have, prior to COVID, a partnership dinner with people who are part of our work. But the reality is the people who care for our work and invest in it are the ones that we've built relationships with over the years. And while I think the mode of online giving and micro giving is really becoming quite popular in this generation, ultimately I think it's the connection with the people that really counts for the long term. And so we spend a lot of time building those relationships. Yeah. And it's through the context of relationship that we share the accountability, which is really embodied in the stories that we tell about the work that is happening around the world. And so many of the individual members that we have also, take on that role of communicating to the supporters that are also supporting them and their projects. But we as pioneers also can have regular communications with those who have invested in our projects.
Understood. Now, micro donations, we touched on that because, a lot of what Donate for Change stands for is getting the micro donations, putting replicating the coins in tin cans of yesteryear. So now with micro donations being our way of collecting on behalf of the charities, do you see people doing that? Are you seeing people switching to online methods and using apps like Donate for Change to give to charities like yours?
Yeah, I think the whole world of has been accelerated by COVID-19. Yeah. There still probably is an older generation that is still a little bit uncomfortable with paying online for their Amazon purchases or electronic banking, but I think particularly the younger generation is becoming very comfortable. And the thing that I like about the micro donation space is that it communicates that many people contributing small amounts actually makes a really big difference. Sometimes we tend to think, I have to give $1,000 or $10,000 at a time. That's obviously helpful, but I think the reality, the whole aspect of crowdsourcing, the crowdfunding, this is becoming the norm. People are saying, I can contribute small amounts and it makes a big difference. And so I really like this. It's something that we are encouraging, and that's why I really love partnering with organizations such as yourself.
No, you're absolutely right there. We're seeing that as well as a trend. People are downloading the app and using it as a way to give little but give regularly. I think that's key. And you're right. Again, it's COVID times. People are not going out as much and using whatever electronic payment methods they have at their disposal, whether it's shopping online or it's giving to charities and making their contributions. Yeah. So this has been good. Yeah. As a partner for Donate for Change, we help raise donations. You seeing this come around as some way of adding to your coffers? Have you been able to see that?
Well, I think our partnership is pretty new, but we really appreciate the innovative idea. I think part of it is creating a market and getting people into the habit. And the app is a wonderful tool just to say, I can set and forget. Many people just want to say, I want to give, I've got a bit of a budget and I'd like to give and set and forget. And that's a really powerful tool. And so I think as we work together, I hope that in Singapore or beyond, that the awareness of this is there, And I think I think particularly young people, I think the younger generation wants to go change the world. They want to serve the cause, and this is a really practical way that they can get involved in.
Absolutely right there. Absolutely right. Yeah, that it's the young people that do make the change, and they do want to do things differently, and paying electronically and so forth. It's just one of the ways they're doing things like that. Yeah. So you talked about how Pioneers in Asia is part of a global mission organization. Um, you must have plans for doing different things in Singapore also. Uh, have you got some activities that you would like to talk about in the coming months?
Well, COVID has really changed the way I think a lot of NGOs, a lot of organizations have had to work. But ultimately, I think our success is when we help other people succeed, whether it's the way that where they serve overseas or in Singapore, how we equip Singapore organizations and individuals to be better at in their volunteer cross-cultural work. And so I think we're doing a lot more to put our training online. One of the benefits we've actually got is it makes it much more accessible from virtually anywhere around the world in Asia. Once you put it online, it used to be that we'd fly to different places and we would hold our programs. And while that was wonderful because of that face-to-face contact and relationship, now I think people are getting used to the whole idea of doing it online. And I think our reach is extending, and I think it's really driving us to develop more of our courses and to make sure that they're relevant for the context in which people are working in. So that's probably where we're putting a lot of efforts into, and we're getting a lot of good feedback from that.
That's so nice that at a time like this, you're able to take advantage of it and actually, reach out to more people and serve their needs. Yeah, this is great. Just in terms of, other things that Pioneers in Asia does across in Singapore, what is it that you find challenging?
The heart of the people is there. I think, the people in Singapore are extremely generous. I think the resources in the nation are incredible. We are one of the success stories of the world in terms of the development of our nation. Yes. I think a highly intelligent, multicultural workforce. I think where there's a bit of a gap is that how do we help people put feet on the vision? They might have an idea to help a particular community there somewhere. They might have an idea to start a business to help, a craft business or something to help another community. And so sometimes people will say, we want to partner and work and be mentored by people who've been there and done that. And so we have a network of people all around the world who have served in cross-cultural situations and in these sort of innovation type projects for decades. And so quite often we can say, we'd like to put you in touch with somebody who's done something very similar to you. And it's a wonderful resource. It's part of being a network. And I think this hopefully helps people to succeed in what has been put into their heart. And so we'll continue to do this as we talk to different organizations, particularly as churches come to us and say, please help us develop we want to serve the Singapore community in these different ways. Often we're having a dialogue to say, how do we fill the gaps with the training? How do we help equip your people for that? Where there are language barriers, cultural intelligence barriers, even just the barriers of understanding different worldviews. This is where I think we've served very well, and we hope that we'll continue to help more Singaporeans make an impact in wherever they are in their relationship network.
Yeah. So this is great, Mark. What I'm seeing with you, and it must be running through the organization, is that you're taking what is challenging times and turning it around and using it to do something better and improve. And that's wonderful to see that you're able to be optimistic and find solutions and expand. So this is great. It's so much that, so often what happens is people will get overwhelmed with the situation. But in your case and with Pioneers in Asia, it sounds very much like you catch the bull by the horns and really turn it into something to your advantage. This is wonderful.
We have networks of people who work in difficult places as it is. Not every country is like Singapore, the blessing that we have in a nation like ours. And when you've seen people work in lots of different countries where there is not just financial, but economic and political trouble, you say, well, actually, what we're facing now actually isn't that different. And so part of it is saying, people have thrived in such environments and they've overcome. And I think that's part of the message of the gospel that we receive and give. But I think part of it is the ethos that we want to spread, to say, difficult times actually are opportunities. They're not just, times to get discouraged and to slow down, but to actually accelerate.
Great. Look, this is, what we want to hear from our charities is the optimism there is, and the fact that being in Singapore, we are blessed and we get the advantage of actually living in a community where people are generous and are willing to give generously to different causes and support different causes and people going through hardships. So again, I'd like to thank you for coming on our show and the time you spend with us. It's wonderful that we are able to partner with Pioneers in Asia and support you through your journey. So I want to thank you for your time. It's been lovely speaking with you.
Thank you for Donate to Change. I trust that this will continue to grow and succeed and really be a blessing to many, many people and communities.
Thank you, Mark. Have a good day.
Okay.